Today we are going to look at terms commonly used in the gym so that you can have confidence walking into the gym, understand fitness content better, and also look cool in front of your gym crush. So I get you. For those that don't know me, my name is Abraham Kasivante, certified personal trainer, and welcome to Ultra Fit. Now, hiring a personal trainer like me will save you all this hassle, especially in the beginning. But I have to be real. Most of us can't afford a trainer, so don't worry. You're going to learn for free. Let's dive in. Basic terms: load or weights. For resistance training mainly, load or weights are used to make resistance of the exercise harder because the body grows when it's challenged. There are free weights, which include barbells, dumbbells, and there are also machines where you move a pin. Like the weights are already stacked on top of each other, you just move a pin to increase the weights, or you add weight plates on the machine to make the exercise harder. For beginners, it's advisable to start using machines because they're very easy to use. You don't need perfect form. You won't injure yourself. Then after, the nervous system getting used to the movements and getting better at body coordination, you can move on to the free weights. This takes us to reps. Reps is a short form of repetition. When performing an exercise, for example, a barbell squat, you go down, come up, go down, come up, and you do this for like 10 times. Those are 10 reps. You then put the barbell on the stand and rest for like 2 minutes. The moment you stop the repetition, you have done one set of barbell squats. After resting, you move on to another set. So you know what reps are. You also now know what sets are. This directly takes us to hard sets. What are hard sets? These are sets done to failure, meaning your muscles cannot perform the exercise for another repetition. However much you want to do a bicep curl, your arm can no longer come up. That's a hard set. You've gone to failure. This is the best way to maximize muscle growth. I wouldn't advise beginners to do this because in the beginning, muscles are very prone to soreness. So beginners, if you do every exercise to failure, you're going to be very sore, which will get in the way of the next exercise because you'll be very sore to do the next exercise. But I love the gym because of hard sets, because in the gym, failure equals to success. Well, in the real world, failure is failure, bro. You failed. Anyway, this leads us to volume. This is the total weight times reps times the sets you've done. That's the volume. If the weights or reps are different for each set, you multiply the weight times the reps you've done, then you add them up at the end. So speaking of reps, our next term will be 1 rep max. This is the maximum weight you can lift if you only had one repetition to do. There are two complicated formulas, but I'm not going to go through them because they are too complicated. I can't explain them here. For this, but many apps automatically calculate this figure for you if you need it. You do need it sometimes for program designing. For example, if you do 70 kilogram for 9 reps on a barbell squat, the first formula would give an estimated 1 rep max of 90 kilograms. Meaning, if you only had to do 1 rep, how much weight can you put on the barbell? And that will be 90 kilograms. The second formula gives 91 kilograms. So they are not so far off. First formula 90, second formula 91 kilograms. As I've told you, this figure is important for program design. I'll make an episode on program design very soon, so subscribe to get alerted when that drops. So for those that want to maximize hypertrophy, it's better to use 70 to 75% of your 1 rep max. So 75% of 100 kgs, if your 1 rep max is 100 kilograms on a barbell squat, 75 or 70% would be 70 kgs or 75 kgs. For those that want to maximize strength, you're advised to use 80% to 85% of your 1 rep max. So I mentioned the word there, hypertrophy. So let's define it. What's hypertrophy? This is the growth of muscle mass. Some people want to maximize strength. Some people want to have the maximum power output. Other people want muscular endurance. But all these, to some extent, lead to muscle hypertrophy. Hypertrophy directly leads us to the next 2 terms. Term number 1 is bulking. This is when someone wants to gain weight by being in a caloric surplus. A caloric surplus is when you eat more food than the energy the body burns. So you gain weight, but you're gaining more muscle mass than the fat tissue in the body. There are 2 types of bulking. There's dirty bulking and clean bulking. So dirty bulking involves eating anything you want without minding of the macronutrients. I will define that later. You just eat anything. You just want to become big. And clean bulking, involves minding on what you eat. So for someone who is doing a dirty bulk, they might gain muscle mass, yes, but they might also gain a lot of fat tissue. While someone who's doing clean bulking will gain muscle mass mainly, but they will ensure that they gain as little fat tissue as possible. Which kind of bulking would you want? Our next term will be cutting. It's the loss of weight but maintaining muscle mass. Here you go on a caloric deficit. Remember, we talked about caloric surplus in bulking, meaning you're eating more than you're burning off through exercise and other activities. And caloric deficit, you're eating less than you're burning off, forcing the body to burn fat tissue and keep muscle mass. So speaking of bulking and cutting, let's look at macronutrients or macros. In short, there are 3 macros or macronutrients. That is proteins, body building foods, for example, meat, fish, eggs, beans, and very many others. These are the foods involved mainly in muscle growth. Our next macro would be fats. For example, olive oil, avocado, groundnuts, cashew nuts. Now these contain both fats and proteins. Seeds mainly contain both fats and proteins. Fats are mainly used in bodily hormonal balance. Our last macro would be carbohydrates or carbs. For example, sugars, bread, sweet potatoes, rice. These are mainly for glucose, which is used as fuel by the muscles to do work in the gym or during an exercise or workout. Bonus term would be personal record or PR. This is commonly used in fitness content. This is when you reach a new number of volume. For example, when you've been squatting 90 kgs for like 10 reps, then you move to 95 for 10 reps. Your volume moves from 900 to 950. So 950 kgs is your new personal record or PR. The personal record also influences your 1 rep max that we talked about up there. With those basic terms, we can now move on to the big boys and big girls terms. We are going to begin off with training principle terms. First training principle term would be progressive overload. This means gradually increasing your volume over time to prevent gain plateaus. Now, plateaus is when you reach a point when you're no longer becoming strong, you're no longer gaining muscle, or you're no longer losing fat. That's a plateau. Yeah. This is done by increasing weights, reps, or sets. Sometimes 2 or all of these 3 variables. Our bodies love a challenge, so give them a challenge. Our next 2 terms would be supersets and drop sets. A superset is when you do 2 exercises targeting different muscle groups back to back without resting in between. For example, if I do a bicep curl, then I immediately move to a standing calf raise machine. These 2 exercises are hitting different muscle groups. First exercise is hitting the bicep muscles. Second exercise is hitting the calf muscles. The mistake most people make is they do supersets, but when they are targeting the same muscle group, that's not a superset. You're just doing more sets for that muscle group. Yeah, so this technique can save you time in the gym. The next term is drop sets. Now, drop sets are performed to failure when you reduce the weight to perform the same number of reps. For example, if I'm doing lateral raises, I start with 10 kgs, then I move to 7, but doing the same reps. Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be necessarily the same reps, but when you're dropping the weight with each coming set, that's a drop set. Our next 2 terms would be compound and isolate movement exercises. Compound movement exercises train multiple muscle groups at the same time. A classic example of a compound movement exercise is a deadlift. When you do a deadlift, you're targeting almost all the muscle groups in the body. It's like a full body workout. You're engaging your glutes, you're engaging your hamstrings, your calves at some point, your quad muscles at some point. So you're doing one exercise, but it's targeting the many muscle groups. These exercises are very good for beginners, or if you're just training to save time in the gym, just pack your program with compound exercises. Isolate exercises are the opposite. For example, a bicep curl. it only works on your bicep muscles. Bonus term here we have posterior chain. This is a term commonly used by trainers, and it's used to mean muscles at the back of the body, from the lower back downwards to the glutes, hamstrings, calves. Yeah. Exercises that target the posterior chain are deadlift and squats. Yeah. Moving on, physiology and recovery terms. We have DOMS. It's a short form for delayed onset muscle soreness. When we work out in the gym, especially for beginners, muscles get macro tears and damage. But this is a good thing because this forces the body to grow as a result. That is the pain most beginners feel in the next 24 to 48 hours after a workout. So that's why up there I told you don't do hard sets, because you're going to make delayed onset muscle soreness worse. You're going to wake up the next day and you can't get out of bed. This is not good if you have a following workout the next day. Our next term will be deloads. This is the opposite of progressive overload. Sometimes the volume becomes too much and you hit plateaus in your gains. Remember, I explained plateaus when you're no longer making gains, you're no longer gaining muscle, you're no longer losing fat, you've hit a plateau. So deloads mean taking a step back and reducing the volume for like a week or two, or even taking time off the gym for the body to fully recover, then come back and go hard again. Now, this doesn't apply to beginners out there. Don't use this as an excuse. You've been in the gym for like 2 weeks and you're like, bro, I need a deload week or 2 weeks. I'm not going to go to the gym for the next 2 weeks because I'm doing a deload. If you're a beginner, no. This is for intermediate and advanced lifters. Leading us to our next term, which is mind-muscle connection. This is mainly also for intermediate and advanced lifters. This is the internal focus. As you're doing an exercise, for example, bicep curl, and you're internally focusing on that exercise and you're feeling your bicep contract and extend, that is called the mind-muscle connection. So, moving on to actions that muscles make during working out, we have the concentric phase. This phase involves contraction of the muscle. For example, coming up from the bottom position of a squat. That is concentric. This is the hardest phase of the workout, but most surprisingly, it's not the most effective for muscle growth. What is the most effective for muscle growth? Is the eccentric phase. This phase involves extension of the muscles being worked upon. For example, coming down to the bottom position during a squat. This phase leads to the greatest muscle damage, thus best for muscle hypertrophy or muscle growth, like I told you. Isometric phase. This phase involves remaining in one position for a certain period of time. The classic example for this would be the plank exercise, when you hold in that position for like 60 seconds. If you hold for a plank for like 12 minutes, you realize how long 2 minutes can be. Trust me. So this phase is really good for building stability in the body. Moving on to ranges of motion terms, we have the partial range of motion. This is when you stop halfway through a movement. For a squat, as you go down, you stop halfway, then come back up. Now, the opposite of this is, of course, full range of motion. For example, if you're doing a squat coming from top to bottom, that's a full range of motion. Now, believe it or not, there are studies comparing partials and full ranges of motion, and some studies conclude that there's no difference. Coming from top, then stopping halfway, then coming from top, then going fully down. Some studies suggest that there's no difference in gains, but recent research suggests that full range of motion is the winner here, bro. Yeah, so don't do partial squats. Go fully down, come back up. So we have our bonus 2 terms, and that is sporting and working in. Sporting is when someone helps you while you're lifting for safety purposes. Imagine some people try to bench 100 kilograms and there's no one around. I've done it. Some people, I meant me, I've done it, but I don't recommend it. Do as I say, not as I do. Got it? Anyway, jokes aside, the gym can be very, very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So I remember a story from one of my trainers. We were on a Zoom call. Then he was like, I've been in this fitness industry for 30 years, and believe it or not, I have dead clients. And I'm like, what? Bro. It was so funny. So yeah, ensure that you're safe in the gym. Be careful. Lift what you can carry. Bite on what you can chew, essentially. So working in is when two or more people do use the same equipment, doing the same workout. Like the gym is crowded, you have to do a squat, but the machine is being used. So you go to the guy and you're like, can I working with you? As you do, the other person is resting. As you do a squat, as they do the squat, for you, you're also resting. So yeah, that's working in with someone. Yeah, guys, make friends in the gym. Don't be antisocial. So there you go, guys. Those are the basic terms of the gym, and I hope you're now very fluent in the gym. You can watch gym content without Googling things up. Of course, there are a lot of things I've not talked about here, but comment down below or ask for any question you'd like to know about the gym or health and fitness in general. Like, subscribe. Yeah. With that, peace.